the Ocean Race, known as the toughest test of a team and sailing's greatest round-the-world challenge, helped to restore ocean health.
Well, sport in general and the Ocean Race in particular brings people together across the world and promotes good and sustainable values such as friendship, respect, and health. And the Ocean Race has a key role to play because, firstly, the ocean is our arena, it's our stadium. And on our whole planet, there isn't anything as powerful as our ocean. Another valuable role that our event, our race plays is to create attention about issues that need attention and to create excitement about solving them and optimism around solving them.
We're really excited about the opportunity that we have ahead of us here with the 11th Hour Racing Team. One of our main missions is to demonstrate that being competitive in high-level sport and really prioritizing sustainability aren't mutually exclusive. We're putting together what we hope to be a race-winning campaign and trying to do all of the right things technically and operationally, but very mindful of the impact that we're having and trying to make good decisions.
You know, it's incredibly clear the urgency of the issue and how close we are to the tipping point. I think in New Zealand, we've proven that, we can as a nation take decisive action, against an issue. We've proven this through COVID, and, I think it is incredibly clear, how many things we can do to resolve, some of the issues that the ocean's facing.
Oftentimes we try and join together with people who we all agree with, and that isn't the way to drive change. Change needs to make us feel uncomfortable, and through that discomfort, we can move forward. So we need people who are members of the team who all come from different backgrounds. Just like on a yacht, you have a crew with different skill sets. So in a campaign, you need the policy wonks, the campaign specialists, the communication specialists, and of course, the devil's advocate to question everything all the time. You've got to develop the strategy and roll out those tactics, and you've got to recognize that the external environment is going to change all the time. But that is the way to drive forward and to make the kind of change in campaigning that we need to see.
The reason why we are in this situation is because of our system as a whole. So that we really need to have a systemic approach to break siloism. The siloism thinking is what is preventing change at scale and at speed. And the learning is that really we have a legal system, we have a commercial system that is built on exclusivity and siloism, really. So that's the main learning that I would have. And I'm sure that by building these bridges all together, we can really achieve change at scale and at speed.
Oceans and seas are crucial to life on this planet, and oceans regulate our climate. They provide much of the oxygen we breathe, and more than 3 billion people depend on marine and coastal ecosystems for their livelihoods. Nearly half of the world's population depend on oceans for their primary source of protein. So with an estimated value of $3 trillion annually, which is about 5% of the global GDP, the ocean is an economic powerhouse. So this really shows that oceans are essential to our economic prosperity and human well-being. And we cannot build or rebuild our economies without a healthy ocean.
We have different types of equipment on board that we use for collecting ocean health data. The first is a ocean pack system that we use to collect water as we go, to measure salinity, sea surface temperature, and CO2. On this last trip across the ocean, we also deployed a NOAA drifter buoy, which collects some of the exact same things that I'd mentioned before, but it's still out there collecting data, even though our boat, as you can see, is clearly tied to the dock.
How important is it to get a wider audience to unite behind the ocean science to help to enforce greater action for our ocean?
If we can get the oceans into the pop culture realm and reach unintended audiences through entertainment or literature or film, we are able to draw in people to issues of sustainability and make them understand how critical the oceans are. And using ocean science and exploration is a great tool to do that.
When I go into audiences around the world, and often I'll ask people what image do they think of when they think of things like climate change, and the response overwhelmingly is polar bears. That's a problem. I believe that we need to be thinking more about how we build relevance around these issues. People relate to people. And so understanding, again, these world leaders, that when we talk about ocean conservation, we're talking about climate change. We're talking about these big global challenges they're struggling with. And so we should be talking less about polar bears, more about how this is impacting people and impacting people's lives, not in the future, but right now. And if we can do that and build that relevance, I think we can go a long way towards helping grow the audience of people that care about these issues.
If we could go back and rename the planet, we should name it ocean, not Earth, because the ocean is 70% of the surface of the planet. And we can do three things. One, we can act on stopping climate change, because climate change is causing the ocean to become more acid, and that is killing biodiversity within the ocean and warming it up. Secondly, we can declare more marine protected areas to have more areas of the ocean that are protected from ourselves and from so much activity, and that replenish the life on the ocean. And thirdly, we need an international agreement that will better take care of what we call the high seas, which is that part of the ocean beyond the territorial waters of countries, and that because it's no one's land, no one takes care of it. And I am very optimistic, because the more and more we share knowledge about these issues, as is the objective of the ocean race, the more and more I believe we will become increasingly committed to these causes.
And the bottom line to all of this is that for many generations, mankind we've been takers from the ocean. And we have to change our mindset, and we have to be caretakers of the oceans. They are not illimitably big. They are not illimitably undamageable. We actually are damaging them now in ways that will be enormously painful for our children and grandchildren. And the taker to caretaker shift and a good solid boot in the rear end to corporate power, I think, are two ways that we can really, really help. And of course, the Ocean Race and the Summit do such a good job of expanding this and getting people to think about oceans. We are terrestrial beings, after all, and people have to put their mind to think about oceans in order to appreciate the work that needs to be done. But it can be done. It has to be done rapidly and with intention, but we can solve this.
We've heard from everyone today how important this moment is for the opportunity to shift public perception about what ocean health means for everyone, wherever they happen to live. It's a tall order that needs international cooperation at a scale never before seen, with countries not just signing on to acknowledge the problems facing the ocean, but committing to action, sharing of data, and scientific, governmental, and philanthropic resources. Together, we have a unique opportunity to join the sport we love with the science we need for the ocean. And we'll be doing this several times over in the next 10 years in future races, building capacity for even more contributions to the global picture as we deploy ships of opportunity on the racetrack. So here's to the sailors, here's to the ocean race, and here's to all we can each contribute to protecting our ocean and our planet in the decade ahead.
And we all have our own takeaways, and that is exactly the way we want it to be. My 3 immediate takeaways today, they are: embrace technology. We've heard about spy cams, robots, deep sea cameras, ropeless fishing, etc., etc. Great innovations improving ocean health. Just use them. Secondly, mind the gap, mind the misalignment. The so-called model, it needs to be transformed to a new one that really addresses the issue of misalignment between policies and economic incentives. And thirdly, think in a new way. We heard how the issue of illegal fishing was radically changed by bringing down silos and bringing people together who had worked on money laundering, illegal logging, the US Coast Guard, Interpol, etc., etc. That's mine. But at the core of this summit is not mine, it's your takeaways. And this is about you as the participant. You decided to come here today. And maybe it was because you are asking yourselves, what more can I do? Well, let me remind you to not lose that perspective. You, one person, can change the world.